no one would have envisioned that Matt Ryan would no longer be the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. They had just worked out an extension, not an extension, but a restructuring to knock down his cap number, and it would have made the cap consequences of trading him ridiculously worse than they were. Everything's fine. Then all of a sudden, the Falcons are in on Deshaun Watson, and we assume, well, okay, they'll get Deshaun Watson or they'll keep Matt Ryan. They end up with neither. Matt Ryan, now a member of the Indianapolis Colts, and he was introduced today, and he becomes the latest longtime quarterback with one team to move to another team. And he talked today, among other things, about the fact that he is, just like Matthew Stafford last year, Tom Brady 2 years earlier, the difference for now is they won a Super Bowl in their first years with their new teams. Here's Matt Ryan on following Stafford and Brady.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. You know, the roadmap looks really good. And what Matthew Stafford did in L.A. last year, you know, making that transition, playing so well, and what Tom did, you know, I saw that firsthand in division the year before. Hopefully, you know, we bottle up some of that momentum and we can make a push here. I really believe we can. I think this roster is built really well. They're sound across the board. Built with, you know, really high character football players, guys who work hard. I mean, it's amazing to me in sending a bunch of texts and talking to some guys yesterday, just back and forth, how much they care about winning. You know, in every one of their first text messages, it was about winning. And that's unique. You know, it really is. And that fires me up. So I hope we can, you know, like I said, ride that trend that's been going on and make it work for us.
You know, I have a very important observation to make, and this is critically relevant to what's happening in the NFL right now. Matt Ryan in a suit at this point in his life looks like every TV and movie dad from the 50s. Every one of them in one. He's Ward Cleaver. He's Jimmy Stewart. He's Dean Jones from all those Disney movies. Shireen, we're the same age. You remember Dean Jones from all those Disney movies. Am I right or am I right?
Yeah, and I knew where you were going. I just wasn't sure what. I knew you were going to talk about the suit. I just didn't know who you were going to compare him to, but those are pretty good comparisons. But yeah, I mean, you always see guys in suits. The one time you see them in suits is when they change teams. Same with coaches when they, after draft day or when they change quarterbacks or some big press conference, and then you never see them in a suit again.
I'm surprised Matt Ryan didn't say we got to wrap this up. I'm due back at the building and loan. Good Lord. I mean, it really is amazing. It really is amazing. And he's now in Indy. And look, if he had gone to another NFC team that, you know, needed a high-end quarterback that otherwise had a great roster around him, it would be different. He's in the AFC. It's a meat grinder in the AFC. We were talking about this earlier today. There are 13 contenders. Everybody except the Jaguars, Texans, and Jets, in my estimation, are contenders in the AFC. Yeah. So that leaves 13. And only 7 of them are getting in. 6 of them are going to get thrown overboard. I think that there could be a team that doesn't make it to the playoffs in the AFC that could win the NFC. That's how good the AFC is right now. And there's no guarantee the Colts are even going to get to the playoffs with Matt Ryan. Now, you see the odds have changed. Winning the division, a little bit better, plus 150 down to plus 110. Winning the AFC championship, look, it's still a long shot. Winning the Super Bowl, long shot. Matt Ryan cut his odds in half to win the MVP. He was the 2016 MVP. I think that this is perfect for the Colts, who have been bouncing from quarterback to quarterback since Andrew Luck unexpectedly retired in August of 2019. They go Jacoby Brissett, Phillip Rivers, Carson Wentz, and now, boom, they have Matt Ryan. I think he's the best of the bunch. He's still got plenty left, and I think he's going to be good. And I think they're going to be good. With Jonathan Taylor, with that offensive line, with the defense they have, Darius Leonard, their star linebacker, is already jostling for Julio Jones to join the Colts. Wouldn't that be something? If Julio Jones ends up reunited with Matt Ryan there and they could use him, the Colts became a much more interesting team. We knew that they were glaringly lost at quarterback, but they otherwise had a good team, and we thought they were going to end up with Jimmy G or Baker Mayfield or whatever. This Matt Ryan thing happens. They can thank Deshaun Watson, because what happened, Shireen, as Chris Sims has heard it, and I've heard nothing to contradict this, The Falcons were not in on Deshaun Watson. Watson wanted the Falcons to come to the table. And when they did, at some point after that started, that's when the thing with Matt Ryan fell apart. Otherwise, this never would have happened. So, Deshaun Watson, the Colts fans should be very grateful that he did what he did by trying to get the Falcons to sign him, to trade for him, because otherwise Matt Ryan would still be a Falcon.
Yeah, and Matt Ryan had his choice. He said that he could have gone back to Atlanta or he could have accepted the trade to Indianapolis, and he chose to go to the Colts. And I think it's a good move for him and a good move probably for the Falcons. Now they can start rebuilding for the future because they weren't going to go anywhere with or without Matt Ryan. The last time that Matt Ryan and the Falcons have had a winning record was in 2017. Think about that. That was a long time ago, Mike. But, you know, I was thinking about this earlier today, and you pointed out the Texans and the Jaguars are two of the teams that, of the three teams that you don't think have a chance in the AFC. I completely agree with you, but those two teams are in the same division that Matt Ryan now plays in. The Colts had the most Pro Bowlers of any team in the NFL last season. The one thing they were missing is the quarterback who didn't turn the ball over on his own goal line, which, as we know, Carson Wentz did many times last year. So compare the Titans and the Colts. They both have the 1 and 2 best running backs in the NFL. I would say Derrick Henry's better, had the injury-plagued season last year. But certainly Jonathan Taylor is close. So you got the running game. I don't necessarily like the Colts receivers when we start talking about Paris Campbell and Ashton Dulin and Michael Pittman. I don't know that they're there. The Titans obviously have the edge there. But when I compare these two teams, I think Matt Ryan's probably, and this is Aggie on Aggie crime here, but he's better than Ryan Tannehill. So if I'm going to pick a team right now to win that division, it's going to be the Colts. And there may only be one team out of that division that makes the playoffs, Mike. And we're going to be talking about, just as you said, the Colts or the Titans as, boy, if they had just been in the NFC, they would have made the postseason and could have made a run. They're going to be that good. There's going to be a team like that that's left out of the postseason.
Well, especially when we look at the teams in the AFC West, top to bottom, all four teams will be contenders. AFC North, I'm not writing off the Steelers just because they have Mitchell Trubisky. No. You've got the Browns with Deshaun Watson. Who knows how many games he's going to ultimately miss. But you've got the Bengals and Joe Burrow. They're doing what they have to do to address their weaknesses. The Ravens, you know, they go from perennial powerhouse to a team that's going to be hard-pressed to just hang on in that division and in that conference. I've said this time and again in the past couple of weeks, and it keeps getting stronger and stronger, this flow of great talent, veteran talent, from the NFC to the AFC. I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen this kind of imbalance, and this is not a great time to be in the AFC. And I know that the players individually say, well, we're competitors and, you know, iron sharpens iron and all that stuff. At some point, you'd like a break. At some point, you don't want every game to feel like a playoff game. I mean, think about some of these regular season matchups this year, how significant they will be. All of the AFC North games, all of the AFC West games, most of the AFC East games. Those Colts-Titans games now become epic. And, hey, Indy's got to go back to Jacksonville again. They've lost there each of the last 2 years, even though Jacksonville otherwise stunk, so that game is significant. So many great games. And that's just before they start playing the teams from the other conference. It's going to be a potentially great season. Now, injuries will ultimately affect some of these teams, but going in so far, what we've seen before we even get to the draft, this could be a very, very exciting season. It could be very frustrating. I said this earlier today too, Shireen. People's fortunes and fates are going to be determined not by anything they do. Seasons are going to come down to bad calls, bad bounces, bad weather, something out of your control. That's how narrow the margin is going to be, and that's going to drive people crazy. All the work, all the effort, all the time, everything. It's going to ultimately come down to something that they can't control.
Absolutely, Mike. And when you look at the Colts' history at the quarterback position, I don't know if they really appreciated it at the time. Maybe they did, but just how lucky they were to get Peyton Manning, who from 1998 to 2010 started 227 consecutive games, and then they almost went directly to Andrew Luck. There was that 1 year in there, which is why you need to tank if there's a top quarterback available to get that #1 overall pick for a can't-miss guy.
Careful, Stephen Ross. Careful, Stephen Ross.
I know. But they ended up with Andrew Luck. He started 57 consecutive games from 2012 to 2015. And then when Luck retired before that 2019 season, Mike, you just see what they've gone through. And it just hasn't been good. Phillip Rivers was the best of that bunch, and he was a bridge quarterback. And, you know, Matt Ryan turns 37 in May. So they're going to be addressing this position again soon, whether it's in the draft this year, maybe draft a guy lower in third, fourth round and try to hope that he turns into a Dak Prescott or a Russell Wilson or somebody like that. But at some point, whether it's this year or beyond, the next couple of years, they're going to have to address this position again, and they're going to make another move at quarterback. But for now, Colts fans should be excited by what they have, because they are going to contend and they are going to compete, especially in that division. And I think they're good enough when you look at all the Pro Bowlers they had last year, all the people they bring back, still some work to do. They're good enough to compete in the AFC, and they're not going to have to go through the ringer. They are going to get those breaks in their division when they play the Jaguars twice, when they play the Texans twice. They're going to get a few breaks in there that perhaps those teams in the AFC West don't realize.
This is part of the reality of having a team that's otherwise good. You never bottom out. You never get to the point where you can go get the great quarterback in the draft. So you take advantage of the opportunities to find whoever's out there. And we have seen in recent years an unprecedented number of veteran quarterbacks who become available for whatever reason. So you get Phillip Rivers on the back end of his career because they have Justin Herbert. Or at least we're planning to get Justin Herbert, and he was done with the Chargers. You get a Carson Wentz because he falls out of favor with the Eagles and they want to move on. Now you get Matt Ryan because it finally ends for him in Atlanta, and this could be the answer. And it may just be stopgap, stopgap, stopgap until they finally see their team disintegrate to the point where they start over again. The problem is, for the powers that be in Indianapolis, I think if they ever fall apart to the point where they could go get a great young quarterback, Jim Irsay's going to fire everybody. So the challenge for Chris Ballard and Frank Reich is get that veteran and win with that veteran and hold on to that veteran as long as they can, because, you know, unless there's a guy they really like that slips through the cracks or they trade up, they're not going to be able to plug in that young quarterback, and the rest of the team is too good to justify taking a step back with a rookie. So it worked this year, and we'll see how long they keep Matt Ryan, and then they'll be looking again, and maybe they'll get lucky and somebody will fall into their laps again. But it's a strange time for the Colts, but they have to feel good about where they are, at least for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, and they are. They're in good shape, and they are building for the now. They're, as the Rams did last year, maybe not quite to that extent, but they are kind of going all in with this move at quarterback to trade Carson Wentz, to say, all right, he wasn't good enough. Let's try our hand, because we think we have a really good team, a team capable of winning a Super Bowl. We're a quarterback away. Let's go find a guy who we feel good about, who can lead us to where we want to go. And they feel good about Matt Ryan. And he's been there. He's been a league MVP. It's a long time ago. He started in the Super Bowl. It's a long time ago, but he's done it. And we know his character. We know what a great leader he is, all those things. So I think this is a really good move for the Colts. I like this much better than that they had gone and gotten the younger Baker Mayfield, just because I feel like Matt Ryan's more accomplished. He's done it. He can get them where they want to go because he's proved that he's done it in the past, Mike.
And if all else fails, he can star in the reboot of some of the Dean Jones Disney films. I'm pulling up here. Let's see if any of these ring a bell. Let's see. I don't remember the $1 Million Duck. Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. The Shaggy DA, I remember that. He was Wilby Daniels in the Shaggy DA. Yeah. He did that darn cat, not that damn cat. Couldn't say damn back in 1965. He was in That Darn Cat. A lot of movies for Dean Jones. So second career for Matt Ryan, ready to roll.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.